Mr. President.
Senator from Virginia.
Mr. President, I'm honored to be with my colleagues on the floor to talk about the actions that have become very manifest in Virginia today because of the President's executive orders, particularly the recent order pausing federal funding, grant funding, program funding. And I want to thank my colleagues for being here on the floor to talk about this and share just in the last 24 hours what Virginians are saying and what Virginians are asking and what Virginians are worried about. And then I want to make one point about my federal workforce and an offer that the President made to them at the end of the day. And then finally raise a question of what President Trump is afraid of. President Trump has 2 Republican houses. If he wants to do something to shrink the size of government, if he wants to do something to reduce spending here or there, we've got a March 14 budget deadline, and he's got 2 Republican houses, and there's a way to do this unless you are afraid that your Republican majorities don't want to go as far as you do in cutting Medicaid and cutting Medicare and endangering Social Security and hurting kids and hurting veterans and hurting families. So let me talk about the orders of the day and then the federal workforce and finish with this question: what is President Trump afraid of? I started to hear from Virginians about this federal funding pause yesterday. I was at an event in Fredericksburg to kick off tax season, and the local United Way and Chamber of Commerce were initiating something they've done for 21 years in a row: volunteer tax assistance for low and middle income folks. Classic community program. A lot of volunteers help everyday folks figure out how to file their taxes and make sure that they can get benefits that they are entitled to. As I was at this kickoff, people came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm a veteran. I'm trying to get an appointment at a VA hospital or clinic, but the VA portal is closed to me. What's going on?" What's going on? This was the leading edge of this chaos. Someone else came to me at this session, this kind of good news event about volunteer tax assistance, and said, the federal government is paid to build a VA clinic in Fredericksburg, state of the art, right on Interstate 95, visible to all, scheduled to open in February. We are still being told that the grand opening is going to happen, but now those working there are saying they're under a hiring freeze. We've spent tens of millions of dollars to build this facility that looks great, but we're under a hiring freeze. Can we even hire people to serve the veterans in this region? This was how it started. From then to today, let me tell you other calls of anguish we've received in our office. 2 child care centers, one in the Williamsburg area, one in Appalachia, far, far away in Southwest Virginia. We think our funding is being cut off. We think we may not have enough to pay staff. And we also think parents who are receiving some child care funding, that may get cut off. And so neither they can afford child care nor we can afford to maintain the employment of these hardworking child care workers. 2 child care centers. Universities reached out to me today. We're doing cutting-edge medical research. We have contracts that are ongoing right now, and we're about to send a bill to the federal government because we do the work and then we submit bills. We're not sure it's going to be paid. What do? Lay off the researchers and not get the research done? What should we do, Senator? There's an organization in Virginia called the Virginia Healthcare Foundation. What they do is they help low-income people and seniors apply for Medicaid, apply for Affordable Care Act subsidies. They have a contract with CMS to help them hire 8 staffers, they call them navigators, who work around the state helping low-income people access programs to which they are entitled, for which they have paid taxes. They received the note suggesting that that grant to hire these navigators to help everyday people was going to expire, and they couldn't get any federal funding after 5 o'clock today. They heard this late yesterday, so they did what any good organization would do. They reached out this morning to the CMS to say, please give us the payment right now before 5 o'clock today. And what they got back from CMS was, sorry, our website is down. We've just decided that today will be the day that we'll just spend time repairing our website, and it will be open again soon. Open again soon, but after the 5 o'clock deadline. You don't have to be a genius to figure this out. Hurting people getting health insurance, hurting people trying to get Medicaid benefits, hurting child care centers, hurting veterans trying to get appointments, hurting a VA clinic we've spent tens of millions of dollars to build by threatening through a hiring freeze the ability of this place to open. And that's just a little snapshot. There was an earlier order freezing foreign assistance funding. A whole lot of nonprofits, church-based nonprofits like World Vision and other organizations that do foreign assistance work around the world. Humanitarian aid in Ukraine, for example, they were told they don't get funding anymore. The only foreign assistance we will give, according to the Trump executive order, is military armaments transfers to 2 countries in the world, Egypt and Israel. No humanitarian aid, no transfer of military assistance to other nations. And this is all on the say-so of a president trying to overturn existing appropriations bills that have been passed by a bipartisan Congress. If I've heard these stories in one day, and my colleagues have heard these stories in one day, I know what I'm going to hear tomorrow. I'm going to hear through the weekend. This is going to build like an avalanche, and it's not just Democratic senators who are hearing these stories. We have to respect the law and congressional appropriations. And I ask anyone hearing who's concerned about this, if you're in Virginia, call my office. If you're not in Virginia, call your congressman or woman, call your senator, and tell them the president is not above the law. The president must follow the law, and it's Congress, Democrats and Republicans, who have to ensure that the president follows the law. Second, Mr. President, I want to talk about federal employees. The federal employees received an interesting email at the end of the day today. I happen to have some fellows assigned to me who are not Senate employees, but they are executive branch employees, as most of us have, working in my office. And they received an email that said, from the administration, if you tender your resignation by next Friday, we will guarantee you payment through the end of September, whether or not you show up for work. So tender your resignation, and then, boy, it's just going to be a gravy train. You're just going to get paid for 7 months without working. The president has no authority to make that offer. There's no budget line item to pay people who are not showing up for work. This is a guy who made this promise to contractors again and again and again when he was a private business guy. Oh, come work for me on my casino. Come work for me in a hotel. We're going to do a handshake. We're going to do a contract. The contractor does the work and then finds out they get stiffed. So my message to federal employees who receive this is, yeah, the president has tried to terrorize you for about a week and then gives you a little sweetheart offer. If you resign in the next week, we're just going to pay you for doing nothing for the next 7 months. Don't be fooled. He's tricked hundreds of people with that offer. If you accept that offer and resign, he'll stiff you just like he stiffed the contractors. He doesn't have any authority to do this. Do not be fooled by this guy. You were here before he was here, and you'll be here after he was here. Show up for work, be diligent, serve Americans every day, make their life better, answer their phone call, give them an answer, track down their constituent call. Don't be fooled by a fake offer that because he's terrorized you in the last week, it would be easy to just resign now and get a check for 7 months, because I can tell you that promise is worth nothing. And you will regret it just like these contractors regretted it who did work for this guy when he was a businessman. Finally, Mr. President, last thing I'll say is this. What is this move by the president to try to shrink the federal workforce, because we all know this. If he can persuade a bunch of people to resign, he'll stiff them, and then he won't fill the position. So, okay, that's one way to shrink the federal workforce. If I can get away with not distributing money that pursuant to a congressional appropriation, okay, that'll shrink the federal budget. But wait a minute. The president has 2 Republican houses. We are supposed to come up with a budget deal by March 14. What's today? Is it like the 25th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 28th? Is today the January 28th? Think I'm right? March 14 isn't very far away. We are supposed to come up with a budget deal by March 14th. And the president is like sitting in the catbird seat. He's got 2 Republican houses. So if he wants to slash federal spending, if he wants to reduce the federal workforce, if he wants to gut Medicaid, gut Medicare, gut Social Security, gut the SNAP program, gut low-income heating assistance, gut rental assistance, gut Title I funding to our public schools, guess what? He's got 2 Republican houses that he can persuade to do his bidding. He's been pretty good so far at persuading these 2 houses to do his bidding. So why didn't he do that? That would be the lawful way to accomplish that. If President Trump could convince the 2 houses to slash all these programs in a budget, that would be lawful. Get an appropriations deal that cuts all these programs the way he and Russell Vogt and Project 2025 want to do it. But that's not what he's doing. He's doing it, trying to do it on his own. Why? Why would President Trump, who has a clearly legal path ahead of him that he can exercise over the course of the next 6 weeks, it's not very long, to get a budget deal with 2 Republican houses, why would a President Trump with 2 Republican houses in 6 weeks to get a budget deal to do everything he wants, why would he not exercise that route, but instead use an illegal route as an executive to slash funding contrary to clear statute? It's because he doesn't think that elected Republican members of the House of Representatives and the Senate will go along with his radical plans. He doesn't think he can convince my GOP colleagues to take the axe to all these programs and hurt the American people in the way he wants to. Let's make President Trump do this the right way, not the wrong way. Let's put it on the shoulders of President Trump and the 2 Republican majorities. You want to slash all this stuff? Fine. Have that debate on the floor of the Senate, on the floor of the House. When we're doing the budget negotiation between now and March 14, show the American public your homework. Show them who's going to get hurt. Show them that we're going to hurt everyday people at the expense of the big guys that are getting the tax cut in the reconciliation bill later. Let's really have that debate right here in the full view of the American public with these spotlights on and the TV broadcasting it. That's what this president is afraid of, and that's why he's using this illegal strategy to accomplish what he is afraid he can't accomplish in the Article I branch. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.